You are listening to the On Purpose podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome to year 6 of the On Purpose podcast, where we are just humbled to be here with you and to be able to show up with you each and every week, bringing you purposeful content designed to help make you smile. So today we are thrilled to have a very special guest joining us. Dr. Audrey Levy is a distinguished marriage and family therapist with over 40 years of experience. She's a novelist, a screenwriter. I watched a stand-up comedy show she did, and she's renowned for her unique approach to therapy, blending personal experience with professional expertise to help individuals navigate life's challenges. Her newest book is a bestseller in multiple categories titled The Dog Bible for Humans, Advice from Dogs for Humans of All Ages. And she brings a wealth of knowledge to the show. As I came across her, I was excited, one, to learn what dogs were saying, because, we got Otis now, and I'm always intrigued what he actually thinks. And two, somebody that's got the courage to get out and do stand-up comedy. Like, I can't imagine much tougher things to do than that. I thought it'd be fun to get her on and share her expertise with you all and let us know what you think. But before we get to the conversation with Audrey, I want to ask for your help here. And these are some things you can do to help us grow and continue to reach more people around the world. That's go to your favorite podcast apps, wherever you're listening. Go to YouTube if you're watching. Like, subscribe, share, give us a review. It doesn't cost money. It'll take just a few minutes of your time. But in today's world of algorithms and views and shares, it's how you help us continue to grow. So please get over, pay your bill. I'd like to think that is, right? Just pay your bill for that. And then sit back and enjoy the conversation this week with Dr. Audrey Levy. Thanks so much. Audrey, my newest friend, welcome to the On Purpose podcast, and thank you for helping us kick off year 6 of our show. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, Jerrod. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here. Happy New Year.
Same to you. And of course, I came across your stuff through some emails, and I thought, man, I can learn something from you. So that's what I'm here for, is to understand your story. When I really, there's a lot you got going on that I super am intrigued by. But one of the things is that I saw you lived on a boat, and I thought I should talk to this person for sure.
Yeah, as I mentioned in our preview, that usually comes up, that I live on a boat. I lived on a houseboat for 26 years, and this past winter, it was the worst winter that LA had in the last 100 years, and it destroyed my houseboat, which was made of wood. So I had to leave it and find a new boat, and now I am on a 41-foot power boat.
Oh, wow.
Living on it since October, so it's new to me.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's got a lot of wood, very warm, cozy.
Yeah, you gave us a little tour. It looks super nice, and it's bigger than my RV, that's for sure. What got you into houseboat living?
It's definitely comfortable. Well, I had a partner who wanted to live on a boat, and that was his dream. And we were together for 20 years. And in our last few years together, we got a sailboat, which was his dream to move on to it. He wanted to get a sailboat and sail around the world and live happily ever after. And I liked that goal. That was a good goal for me. I enjoyed that goal. So while he was alive, he died in 1998, and we were together for 20 years. And so ultimately we did get a boat, and we lived on it. And then when he passed, I moved on to the houseboat because I didn't know how to sail. I was a very good first mate, but I'm not a good captain of a boat. So I gave the sailboat to his son, and I moved on to the houseboat. And I was there until this past winter, and I just moved on to this boat in October.
Okay, so do you actually sail the boat or no? You just stay in pier?
This boat so far is a power boat, for one thing, instead of a sailboat, which is very different. I always wanted a sailboat. Turns out this is a power boat, not a sailboat. and I don't know how to drive it yet. I just moved on to it. It's large. If you have an Airstream, so you know about large.
Not as big as
This
what
is
you
a lot.
got.
Parking it is tricky. So the person we bought it from drove it here from Long Beach with us on the boat, and he backed it into the slip, which was perfect. But it took him even 3 tries because the wind was pushing against him. So we haven't taken it out yet. Uh, we need to learn how to drive it. We have to have an expert with us if we're going to drive it.
All right. Well, I love it.
So right now we're just living on it.
Good for you. That's a great way to live, and your views of from the pier there look amazing. So I applaud you for that. And before we get into the real purpose conversation stuff, Audrey, I want to warm you up a little bit. I like to have a little bit of a quick warm up session to break the ice and let the audience know really what's going on behind the scenes. Are you ready for this?
Absolutely. Go for it.
I think I know the answer to the first one based on your life, but I'll ask anyhow. Snow or sand? Which do you prefer?
Sand.
Hard to say snow if you're living on a boat, huh?
Yeah, I don't do well in the cold. We just went to Big Bear a couple of weekends ago, and it was freezing. I do much better in the warm weather.
You and me both. That's why we're always escaping winter in this. All right. Second one, Audrey. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Ooh, why?
Because I can't always be awake for the sunrise, but pretty much no matter where I am, I can always find a sunset. Although I will say, since this is video, the background that I generally use is this, which is my sunrise from my boat.
Oh, very nice.
That is the real view. That is the real view from my houseboat in the morning. That's it.
I see why you stay there.
I'm very lucky. That's why I'm still here.
All right. Favorite song or song that's on repeat right now? What are you listening to?
Gosh, I don't listen to any current music. I don't listen to the news. I don't have a current favorite that I can think of off the top of my head. I generally listen to books when I'm riding in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm home, I have movies on in the background.
Movies.
So
you got movie audio going.
I will say this. I was in a store the other day and I heard the score from Wicked playing in the background. And I love the show Wicked. I have not seen the movie, but I love the show. So any song from Wicked that is in the top right now, I would say that would be my favorite.
Yeah, fair enough. Favorite book?
Gone with the Wind.
Okay, why?
And also Stranger in a Strange Land. I've read both of them multiple times.
What are your takeaways?
And also Atlas Shrugged, anything by Ayn Rand. I'm not quite sure how to describe why. I read Gone with the Wind when I was in the 7th grade and it made me cry. And it was the first book that made me cry. And so that gives me goosebumps. I cried when Melanie died. I don't know how familiar you are with Gone with the Wind.
Sure.
But from that point forward, whenever I watch a movie or read a book where a character dies, I always cry. And I heard a line that I heard in a movie that Lee Remick and Anthony Quinn were in. They said that God was in the wind. And I thought that was a really good way to describe it because you can't see the wind, but you can only see what the wind leaves. The damage that it causes or the beauty that it causes if it brings leaves to fly around you. And I thought that was a really good line. I like that. And I've also heard that God is in the ink. And I'm a writer.
Yeah.
And I've been writing before I knew about computers. So, and then anything by Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead. She's independent thought. is her concept. I would like to say that I am an independent thinker. I'd like to think that. I don't watch the news. I don't, I stay away from social media as much as possible.
Yeah.
I have somebody that works it for me. And what I do is I send out emails.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with social media, don't want to keep up with social media. My clientele, I'm a psychologist. I have a full practice. And over the years, ever since Facebook and MySpace, ever since they evolved, a lot of my clientele will come in and be crying or be angry because of something that they read on social media.
Sure.
And it's very frustrating to have people get so emotionally invested in what they're seeing on the screen when it would be so simple to just not look at the screen
Yeah.
in the first place.
For
In the
sure.
first place.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
What do you tell them then? Because you can't just, well, I guess you could just ignore it altogether. But in today's world, there is so much that's done through social media, whether it's marketing or business. What do you tell somebody then like that? What if one of our listeners is in that same boat? What would you tell them? How do they, I guess, limit the emotional reaction they allow social media to create?
well, I think you have to be selective about what you listen to. You can't just listen to everything and take, they say when I was growing up, they would say, take the news with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
What you hear on the news and what you read in the newspaper, take it with a grain of salt because you don't know what's true. So that means that you can't get emotionally invested in things that you don't know are true.
Mm.
So if you look at it as entertainment as opposed to the gospel, you'll have a better chance at not being emotionally involved. Now, I will say, when I read Gone with the Wind and Melanie died and I cried, I got emotionally involved in the story. So people get emotionally involved in the stories that they're hearing and reading about on social media and movies and fairy tales and books. That's our culture. So one of the things that I ask my patients to do is take the word should out of their vocabulary so that when they're watching all these things, they don't incorporate the values that are being thrown at them. They try and remain independent thinkers and think about what they want to do rather than what they should do. Think about what they could do rather than what they should do.
That's
Think about
funny.
what they might want to consider doing rather than what they should do. Because otherwise they come to me and they say, like with Wicked right now, well, I read that Ariana Grande does da 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 da, so I'm going to do da 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 da. Well, maybe it's not right for you. So you have to think about what you want for you, not what she's doing because she does it or she says you should do it.
That's so funny. My
or your parents.
Yeah, 100%. That's funny you brought that up because the number 2 podcast, every December we release the top 5 episodes from the year prior. And our number 2 episode in 2024 was just a solo one I did titled 3 Things to Take Out of Conversations, basically. Like, so you can have better conversations. And number 2 was should. Take it out of your conversations.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Right, it's the same though.
That's a zeitgeist.
What do you mean?
That's what a zeitgeist is. When a zeitgeist is when the same thing gets discovered all around the world at virtually the same time.
Huh. Well, I just found it, and maybe I'm stubborn. I'm always been kind of a rebel in my life. But anytime somebody tells me you should, I lose interest, right? Because now there's no growth for me if I just follow your plan. Like, you already thought of the answer. So why continue the conversation? Why continue, right? And reality is, Audrey, I'm probably going to do the opposite just because of my spirit sometimes.
Yeah. Just to be oppositional.
Just because I didn't come here for you to give me the answers, right? And that's one of the things I talked about in that episode is when you have a chance to converse with people and they're asking questions, as soon as I say you should, there's no more critical thought for you. You just follow whatever, right? And just like you said, what if my thoughts on what you should do are completely wrong for you? Or what if society's thoughts or social media, right? Like you could, you might, but what do you want to do? Is a much more powerful and open conversation than me telling you an answer.
Yes, and as a therapist, very commonly people will say to me, "Well, what do you think I should do?"
Mm,
They'll tell me their story and then they'll go, "So what do you think I should do?" And I always have to put it back on them. Well, what do you think? Take
yeah,
away the word should and then re-ask the question and ask it of yourself.
love it. Yeah, oh, that's a
So
whole.
then we start to look at options.
And they're thinking for themselves. They're evaluating.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
we diminish the importance of developing critical thinking, especially in like our kids or people that were influenced by us that we get an opportunity to lead. The more I give you answers, you may do exactly what I said, but are you developing the critical thinking you need to be successful, right? Are you developing how to process the information and move yourself forward? And that's ultimately what we want, is we want people to think for themselves.
Yes, indeed. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. That's a good segue there off. All right, quote you live by. What's a good quote that sticks with you, Audrey?
Wow. Well, because we're on a time, the very first thing that came to my mind was one day at a time.
Okay.
That's the first like quote that came to me was one day at a time, to take things one day at a time. That's a really important one. The other ones that I live by, you mentioned affirmations in the preview. I talk to my patients about saying positive affirmations on a daily basis, and the quotes that I use are I'm okay, you're okay.
Mm,
I'm taking care of myself no matter what. And I am enough to handle anything that comes my way.
yeah,
And then, of course, this too shall pass. And
yeah,
this too shall pass.
yeah. It's good, right?
So there you go. One day at a time. I'm okay, you're okay. I'm taking care of myself no matter what. I'm enough to handle anything that comes my way. And this too shall pass. There's 5 for
I
you.
love it. All right,
And it
so
gives me goosebumps because it's a whole thing from beginning to end.
it is. It is. All right, you get to have dinner with one person, Audrey. Who would you want to have dinner with, and what would you want to ask them?
It's funny because a joke came to my mind instead of a real thing. I
Well,
don't know.
well, that's good because I
The
saw your
first, the,
stand-up routine, so I know you got jokes.
the first thing that came to my mind was Jackie Kennedy. And the question that I would ask her was, who had your period for you? And I don't know if you have to be a woman to get that joke, but you did just laugh.
Well, I would definitely. Well, I would have to be a woman to answer it because that's for sure. But yeah, I think that's a funny question. What do you think she'd tell you?
That she had to have it for herself. She could not, no, I mean, Jackie Kennedy, who was the epitome first lady of the world. She had everything, or so we thought.
Mm,
But even Jackie Kennedy had to have her own period. She couldn't hire somebody to have it for her.
yeah, yeah, it's good. I think you hit it on the
And
head, Audrey. This is what we thought, right? Because there is no perfect life. Everybody has something going on.
right,
Ugh.
yes. And my mom always used to say to me, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And wasn't the Kennedy facade one of the biggest closed doors of all time?
Yeah, completely different now looking back with hindsight, right?
It's sad.
Yeah, it is sad to a degree. And I think there's a lot of people that we elevate to pedestals at certain periods in time that over longevity, they can't live up to that pedestal, right? Like at one moment in time, we think these people are so much better than us, and they have all this going for them. And over time, you see like almost everybody comes back to earth at some point. Which, if we,
My dad used to say, if I can swear for a moment, my dad
yeah,
used to say, hey, everybody takes a shit no matter who they are.
that's the truth, right? And like even going back to you talking about your clients and coming in depressed over social media. Like if they frame that, like you said, as entertainment and people just showing off what may or may not be true, you could laugh and get off of it with no emotional reaction.
Right.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, well, are you feeling warmed up, Audrey? Feel like we broke the ice with you?
Yeah, I feel comfortable, sure. We've been recording all this time, so yeah, I hope I feel comfortable. I've gotten goosebumps a few times, teared up a few times. Yeah, I think I'm in the zone.
Oh, I love it. Well, I want to start with something I read as I was researching getting you on, and that's what inspired you to create a life where you were helping others? Like, where did that come from? Did you know that at a young age, or did you just kind of fall into it?
No, I always knew that. And I always knew that it was like probably the first big fight that I had with my father. Because when he would say, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I say, "I want to help people."
Mm,
And he would say, "Okay, that's good, but you have to think of something to make money." And my answer always was, "Well, but you have money. Why do I have to make money? You have money. Can't I just use your money?" And he would say, "No, sweetheart, you have to earn a living. You have to have a skill. You can't use my money. You have to develop a way to make your own money." And so I would say, "Okay, well, then I want to make money helping people." And he said, "But that won't work because if you make those people don't make a lot of money,
mm.
like teachers and nurses, and those people don't make a lot of money. You need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a business person." And he was a lawyer. So he said, "You're smart enough to be a doctor. You should be a doctor."
Okay, so you did.
And and then and then and then I in college I tried pre-med, and they had 8 o'clock classes. And by that time I was already smoking pot, and an 8 o'clock class was difficult to make.
I love it. It's funny you bring up
So
pot because I was watching your comedy show where you kicked off when you were at the improv and you kicked off the whole thing about how much easier and more fun it would have been if you hadn't quit smoking pot.
well, in college I was smoking pot, and 8 o'clock classes were difficult, and so my independent thinking had already begun. And without my dad's permission, I changed my major to the School of Nursing. And then I changed it to the School of Education because even that was easier than nursing. And I got my teaching degree with a specialty in special education to work with kids that were emotionally disturbed. And that began my role towards psychology,
So
or
we
my path towards psychology, I should say.
so the world owes a big thanks to 8 o'clock classes and cannabis, or we wouldn't have gotten you in this place where we get to learn from you.
There you go.
There we go. So maybe maybe that's what we should be teaching. That's so awesome that you pivoted like that. How did your dad take the news when he found out you weren't going to be the traditional doctor he
Not
thought?
not good. Not good. My dad and I, our first main conflict was when I was 12, and I told him that I had learned that day in school. They asked, "What did you learn in school that day?" And I said, "I learned about adopting children." And I think that's great. So I want to have 3 kids like you and mom had, And then I want to adopt 3 kids so I can help those kids. And my dad just blew up at the kitchen table and said that he would forbid it because he didn't know the heritage of any of those children. And I could be adopting children of psychotic thieves or crazy people or, who knows.
Sure.
And that he wanted me essentially to be with only children that I bore was he willing to support. And so he said, and I was 12. He said, if you adopt a child, I will disinherit you. And I ran away from the kitchen table. I burst into tears and I ran away from the kitchen table and I ran upstairs into my room. And he followed me up the stairs and proceeded to yell at me and try to explain to me, but he was yelling. So all I heard was that he was going to disinherit me if I adopted a kid. And that was the first time he threatened to disinherit me. The second time is when I was 18. And then the last time I was in my 40s. And he did, in fact, disinherit me.
Well, and at 40 he did.
Died. That was yeah, the last he died in what year was it? 1993, I believe. I was in my 40s by that time because I was born in 53. So I was 40. There you go. And he and my mother I found out my mother died. I never found out about my dad until my mom died because he told me that when my mom died, it was all going to go to her anyway. And I had to wait for her to die. And when she died is when I found out that they had cut me out. And my brothers got all that money.
Okay. And you're chuckling about it.
Well, I have to. I mean, there's tears behind the chuckle, but
Yeah, and
I have to chuckle.
Well, let's kind of. I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk with you about was you obviously did be disinherited. I didn't know that actually took place, but I know you've had some significant challenges in your life. How has things that you've overcome allowed you to relate to the people that come to you with help now or looking for help?
In the 12-step programs, there's a phrase, experience, strength, and hope. And that's all you can give to another human being when you're trying to help them. You can't tell them what they should do. All you can do is tell them that based on your own experience and your own strength and your own hope, what you did. And if I've never experienced what they've experienced, sometimes it's difficult. Like I've never bore a child, so I don't know what it feels like to be in labor.
Right.
So I don't have an experience to relate to that. But I've been in great emotional pain. I've been in great physical pain, just not labor. So for that one, I would have to be able to only speak in general terms and have to be honest about that. I've never had a migraine headache, but I'm able to know what it's like to want to go into a dark room and be alone for a little while.
How did you take, let me think, best way to ask this question, how did you take the things that happened to you or around you or that you experienced and channel them in a manner that let you grow from them and move forward to not stay hindered by them throughout your life?
I don't know how to answer that really. I mean, I just kept going. That's probably a work ethic that I got from my parents, to just keep going forward. It's a work ethic. I like to be busy. I like to feel useful. I just keep going no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great answer, right? Is to keep going. I think that is, I've talked about this before. Keep going, keep showing up, right? When we keep showing up and we keep going, we're bound to get somewhere new. We're bound to move forward. It's when we stop.
In the movie Finding Nemo, which was very popular, Ellen DeGeneres' character of Dory she just would say, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Yeah, and I think that's
So you wake up every day and you keep, yeah, you just keep swimming till you can't anymore.
yeah, because like you said earlier, going all the way back to your warm up when you're talking to people and you tell them that they're that they can, right? That this too shall pass and that they're still here. You're okay, I'm okay. Right? We're undefeated getting through things that we think we can't get through each day. As long as we're still here, we're undefeated.
Yes, when I say to people that I can take care of myself no matter what I say is that that covers everything from a stubbed toe
Mm.
to my mother dying. You know, when my father died, I went up to my mother, and remember, I had been disinherited. So I went to the funeral and I kissed my mother on the cheek and I said, I love you, Mom. And she looked me straight in the eye and she said, I used to feel the same way about you. And that was at my father's funeral. So her level of forgiveness was less than zero. I don't work that way.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of, quote, close friends. On Facebook, I have followers. On TikTok, I have followers. On Instagram, I have followers, but I'm not, and this is probably one of the reasons that I don't sell more books, is that I don't get personally involved with my followers because that would require me to be involved in the social media.
Mm.
And it's a rabbit hole. I mean, I have thousands of followers. Some people have millions of followers. Some celebrities have all over the world.
Right.
You know, like if you maybe dedicate 1 hour a day, let's say, to answering, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. So tie that back for me, Audrey, to having that conversation with your mom. Like what?
I'm okay no matter. Oh, okay. Yes. So even though she said that, I had to move on.
I see. So
I
moving
couldn't
forward.
stay in that. I had to take care of myself no matter what. So, and then when my mom died, I was the one who was by her bedside, not my brothers.
Mm.
And I said to her, Mom, are you still angry with me? I had my head in her lap and she was like running her hands through my hair. And I said, Are you still angry with me? And all of her defenses were gone. And she said, Why would I be angry with you, honey? And I said, No reason. If you're not, that's good for me. And on her last day on the planet, I was reading to her and she sneezed. And I said, or excuse me, I sneezed. I was reading to her and I sneezed. And she said, God bless you, honey. And I said, Thank you, Mom. Those were the last words that she ever said. She lapsed into a coma while I was reading to her, and she never came out of it. After all those years of dissension.
What is?
So that was quite lovely. That's a lovely memory for me.
Yeah, it's a fantastic memory for you, and thank you for sharing that with us. What when you sit there and you think, does it put into perspective like how much different that would have been if you held a grudge for all those years instead of forgiving?
Absolutely. How much regret would I have had?
See, I think that's the key, right? I think that's important for people to hear is that when we don't forgive others and we don't forgive ourselves, the the byproduct of holding grudges, you're right, is regret.
Yes,
And only you carry it.
that's right.
Right?
It's the same with anger.
Mm.
Only you carry it.
Right. So you hold on to the grudge thinking you're punishing somebody else for what they did or perceived to have done to you at some point, but they don't know you're still carrying that weight. That weight you're carrying has no impact on me.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
lot of times they don't even know you feel it.
No, because we don't have conversations about it. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh man, yeah, and I love that you live your life in a manner that you would forgive and you would be light. And imagine how many people you've helped through your practices and your books and your conversations because you lived in that manner.
Yes. I'd like to think that is the case, that I get a lot of I get a lot of good feedback from the majority of my clients. There are a few that complain because I'm very direct and I'm very blunt, and some people don't like that.
Yeah, you know what there's a saying that I really like, and you know, it's that I don't have to be for everybody, right? Like I can have a lot of friends and make a great impact where I'm at, but it's okay if I'm not for everybody, because I'd rather
Yep.
not be for everybody being true to me than to try to be for everybody by being not who I'm supposed to be, and eventually, and you're still gonna have people that you're not for.
Yes, you can't please all the people all the time.
Yeah, why would I even want to? That doesn't even sound fun to me to try that. That sounds exhausting.
It's exhausting. That's what yeah, exhausting. We said the same word at the same time.
That's awesome. Audrey, I want to switch gears on you a little bit. I want to talk about your 10th book, which has recently been named a bestseller, and that's The Dog Bible for Humans, Advice from Dogs for Humans of All Ages. What
Yes.
what led you to this book?
Well, I've had 6 dogs. I love dogs. I'm a cat person also, but I primarily am a dog person. And ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to have a dog. There's just this telepathic bond that we have with dogs. That's why they say they're man's best friend. And I was going through a very difficult time. I don't even remember specifically what it was, but it was around COVID. Oh, I know what it was. I had been diagnosed with potential cancer. That's what it was. And I was facing surgery and I had to decide if I wanted it or not. And I was looking at my dog thinking about what the answer might be. And I knew that if my dog had been given the same diagnosis, I would not have my dog go through surgery, that I would enjoy my dog until I couldn't anymore, and then I would put my dog to sleep. So I didn't want the surgery. And somewhere in that time, I thought of the title, The Dog Bible for Humans.
Mm.
And I thought that would be a great title for a book. And I didn't know what I would put in it. And so everybody who I would tell, I've written 9 books up until then, or not 9, I've published 9 books. I've written 4 and I've written a dozen screenplays. And so everybody would say, well, what are you working on now? And my answer was always The Dog Bible for Humans. But I didn't know and they'd say, oh, what a great title. What are you going to put in it? And I go, I don't know. And then I thought I might make it a memoir because people kept saying, oh, you have such an interesting life. And all of my fiction is autobiographical fiction because as a psychologist, I teach people that you can rewrite your life script so that you have a happy life instead of the life that your parents had or that your grandparents had. You can break the chain of mental health jail and break out and rewrite your life script.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from the psychologist, Dr. Eugene Landy, that was my mentor, that I could rewrite my life script. I didn't have to live out being somebody who had been disinherited. I could get a boat. I could be happy in the sunlight. It's all autobiographical fiction in which I changed the endings to have happy endings. So all of my books have happy endings. All of my screenplays have happy endings. But I never did anything that was nonfiction. So I thought I would make it a memoir. Well, hell, once I started putting it together, it was so many pages that I thought, no, this is like 600 pages. Nobody's going to read this. Nobody's going to give a shit. Nobody's going to care. And then AI came out, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what would a dog say if I could ask the dog, what's the secret to life? And then I got an email randomly that's 22 rules that dogs live by. And I realized that I could have 22 chapters, each chapter a different rule that the dog lived by. And then I could ask artificial intelligence, why? What would the dog say is the reason that they do these things? And I would have a little book about what a dog would say. And then when I told my partner the idea, he went on to artificial intelligence and took, I got to take the background off of my thing here. Our dog is a Papillon. His dog is a Papillon. And he made a cover with artificial intelligence. And suddenly I knew what I had to do. So I used artificial intelligence to answer the questions and to make the pictures. And they're gorgeous pictures.
Yeah.
So it's a #1 it's not just a bestseller, it's a #1 bestseller for the pictures and the graphics.
Okay. Yeah.
And the content.
Congratulations
three
on
categories.
that. Very nice. Thank
you.
What'd you learn from this process that was so different than your other books?
How fast I could do it. Once I figured out what I wanted, I did it. Took me 1 week. I called my graphic designer who had done all my other books. He took him a week, and Amazon made it possible for me to publish this book on September 10th, 2024. And I arrived in Los Angeles on September 10th, 1975, to be a writer, a producer, and a director. And I have accomplished that goal, except for being a director. But I direct my life.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Instead of being a director of movies.
But
I have produced I've produced 2 shorts, and I acted in the short, and I wrote the short. So I've written and produced and acted, and I direct my life.
I love it. Something I saw on your website, you did stand-up comedy for a little while, at least once, because I watched a YouTube video.
Yeah, I didn't do it on the road. I wanted to be a funny doctor. I wanted to learn how. And I had dated Jay Leno for 2 years before he was famous, and he would always try out his jokes on me. So I thought, I'm going to take a class in stand-up comedy so that I can learn how. And then when I'm working with my patients, they can laugh, because laughter is like the best healer.
For sure. I love it. And then I saw you skydiving.
Twice.
Okay. So
tandem.
I saw it.
Let's not.
No, you do it it's better. I've never done it. But so here's where I want to go with this question. I think this is a great way to wrap up this episode, Audrey, is how do you stay curious in your life? Like, you are still, even though you've accomplished, like you said, you've accomplished a lot of things. When I talk to you, your energy, and when I look into you, you're curious, you're learning new stuff, you're asking questions, you're researching. In fact, you just talked about using AI, when I know so many people are like, I'm not going to use AI, it scares me. How do you make sure you're staying curious and continuing to do new things for yourself?
Well, I want to say that I probably was dealt a good hand. I mean, if you play poker, you got to be dealt a good hand to begin with. So genetically, I'm blessed. That's the first thing. And then certainly I learned a tremendous amount from my parents. And so I incorporated their values, and my mother always said, "This too shall pass." That was how she got through life. I think that the way that I developed the independent thinking, which it propelled me, I got that from my father. And the way that I got it is that when I was around 7, he made an illegal U-turn, and he was a lawyer. And I said, Daddy, you just made an illegal U-turn. And it was only us in the car. And he said, "No, sweetheart, it's only illegal when you get caught."
Sounds like a lawyer.
That was the ethic that he taught me. But what it did was it allowed me to be an independent thinker. I didn't have to follow any laws. I was above the law.
Yeah.
Now that sometimes gets me in trouble, but it allowed me, along with my mother, "This too shall pass," to just keep moving. And then somewhere I had a mentor, Dr. Eugene Landy, who taught me about positive affirmations and taught me about transactional analysis and psychology. And that saved me. It saved me because I was able to develop, "I'm okay, you're okay." I was able to develop those things that I told you about. And now I have a lucky number 7 that I teach to my patients that keep me going. And I'll say them very fast. Exercise every day for at least 20 minutes. Meditate every day for at least 20 minutes. Positive affirmations every day as often as possible, preferably in front of a mirror, but the last thing you do when you put your head on the pillow at night, and the first thing you do in the morning. Journaling every day. Write those positive affirmations in there at least 10 times each, because when we were kids and you learned how to spell, they had you write that word 10 times each so you would know how to spell. I want you to believe those positive affirmations. I want you to believe that you're okay and that you can take care of yourself no matter what, and that you're enough to handle everything that comes your way. The last 3 things: smile at as many people as possible, laugh as much as possible, and do kind things. Be kind.
What a great 7.
That's how I get through life.
I love it. If we all did that every day, those would be pretty good days, huh?
That's why I call them the lucky number 7.
I love
Because
it.
if you do them at the end of the day, oh my gosh, you feel so lucky. The whole day went the way you wanted it to go.
Yeah. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us on the show this week and for the work you're doing in the world. And I'm excited to follow you. And where can our audience stay connected with you? Maybe find the Dog Bible for Humans. Where can we find you at?
Okay, my website is audreylevy.com. And that's really easy. A as in apple, U as in umbrella, D as in David, R as in Romeo, E as in Echo, Y as in Yankee, L as in Lima, E as in Echo, V as in Victory, Y as in Yankee.com. And the Dog Bible for Humans and all my other books and all my screenplays, they're all on my website. Or you can go directly to Amazon for all my books. Just type in my name or the name of the book, and it will come up immediately.
Awesome. Audrey, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you, Jerrod. I very much enjoyed myself as well. I appreciate the opportunity, as I said earlier, and I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did.
Thank you.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.